Okay, two last speeches from two politicians, and this won't last long at all. Jim Clymer has some parting words, and looks like he's got a hammer he's going to do something with.
You just got out of the way in time. Well, as Henry VIII said to each of his successive wives, I won't be keeping you long now. Since we're in country music territory, I had to think of a country and western song that's popular right now. It's one by Lee Brice. It says, "A Woman Like You." And I don't have all the lyrics on this, but it's something like, while he was dozing off to the news one evening, his wife said, "What would you be like, or what would you do if you didn't have me?" And so he muses through a number of things and says that he'd probably do a lot more offshore fishing and be eating drive-through chicken and still be driving that old green Nova and so on, things like that. So I had to think, what would I do if I had never known Howard Phillip and the Constitution Party? And how my life would have been different. And certainly I'd probably be a lot richer than I am now, among other things. But I actually don't spend too much time thinking about that. I'm sure my life, this party has changed my life. There's no question about it. All you have changed my life. It's been a great ride. And even though I'll be stepping down, I'm stepping down as chairman, that ride isn't over yet, I trust. I hope to be around for quite a while yet. But I also had to think what it's like. I mean, 12 and a half years of September of 1999 when I was elected chairman first, and I've been there all that time. You know, Bill Clinton was still president. You remember him? 9/11 was something that we hadn't experienced, hadn't considered, wasn't any part of our consciousness at that time. I had 5 full fingers on each hand. I had a lot more hair. Things have changed a lot. And Joseph there was barely born. He was, he'd been about a year old or so, I guess. But our world has changed in a significant way in these 12 years. And unfortunately, I can't say that it's changed for the better. The party, I think, has matured to a great extent. We have just our nominating convention this weekend is different than any that we've ever had. And I will say we've had, multiple quality candidates seeking the office. And it's become a real contest for getting the nomination of the Constitution Party for president. But I'm looking forward to the next 12 years, not as chairman, but to observe the chairman, somebody else's chairman. And I'd like to ask Frank Fluckiger to come on up now at this time. I feel very good about Frank taking over the helm, and I have no doubt that he'll do a much better job than I did. He's proven himself as a very effective organizer. He's proven himself in the field in building the party first in Utah and then in Wyoming and other states in the western region where he served as chairman. So it is with a great amount of pleasure, honor, that I hand you the gavel for the Constitution Party. Thank you, Frank.
my fellow Americans. As I said earlier, when I investigated the Constitution Party in Helena, Montana, I came with my wife and my daughter. I was impressed with the things that were said there. They touched my heart. And I was impressed that there were so many attorneys that understood the principles of the Constitution. I shall always remember, I told my wife, I said, I can't believe that there are so many honest attorneys in one room. And so at the end of the meeting, Howard Phillips didn't know me, but I thought, this is a message that I have believed all my life. This is the message that the people of Utah need to hear. And so I went to Howard and I said, they didn't know me from anybody else. I said, if you feel good about me, I'll be willing to get the party going in Utah, try. And they said, go for it. And that was the toughest thing I ever did. I got so many no's, so many no's. People said, you got to reform the Republican Party, you got to stay in the party. And for many months, pretty much alone, I gathered signatures. And I was to the point that I was going to give up. I thought I would go to bed at night and I think, this is the biggest waste of time I've ever spent in my life. Nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody wants to change parties. And I would go to sleep determined, okay, I've finished. And I would awaken in the night. And I knew I couldn't quit. I knew I had to keep going. And then we finally had our state convention, and Rick Jor came and spoke to us. We only had 35 people at our first state convention. I was so disappointed. But anyway, at that convention, an 84-year-old lady came up with two of her friends that were in their 70s, and they brought to that convention 400 signatures. And I thought to myself, if these ladies, and one of those ladies was from Oregon, she'd heard about the party at a state fair in Oregon, and I thought, if those ladies can do that, there's no way I can give up. But had I realized then that it would be ultimately have me standing here, I think I would have run. That was I just it was the furthest thing from my mind. My goal was to get the party organized in Wyoming. And I've learned Washington has been a hero. And there are times when the days get dark, they seem hopeless. But I am convinced in my soul that the God of heaven sent the founding fathers to this earth when he did for a specific purpose. Never in the history of the world have there been so many bright minds brought together on one continent in one small area of the world that formed a document that Gladstone said was the most brilliant document ever penned by the hand of man. And of course, he was excluding the Bible, but he was referring to a group of men. I firmly believe that. Had it not been for the Constitution, America could not have flourished like it has. America could not have been the beacon of the world that it is. And the days are going to get dark again. They have been dark for us. But I just want to refer to something. You're all familiar with the story in the Bible where a woman that had an issue for 12 years felt that if she could just touch the hem of Christ, that she would be healed. And he turned and he said, "Who touched me?" And his disciples said, "What do you mean, who touched you? You're being thronged." But he felt virtue depart from him. And the woman fell down and worshipped him. And he said he marveled at her faith. And he told the woman, "Your faith hath healed you." And a short time later, Christ was in the boat at night, and he came and walked upon the water. And after that, they went to a town called Gennesaret, I'm sorry. And I just want to read that part. And he said, when they were gone over, speaking of the sea, when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out and brought unto him all that were diseased, and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment. And as many as touched him, and as many as touched, were made perfectly whole. Seldom do we see such acts of faith. And fellow Americans, we need to move forward with that same act of faith. I believe with every fiber of my being that the Constitution will be held sacred to those who believe in it. But it's going to take every effort of our fiber, working together, sacrificing as we have never sacrificed before. And the days will get dark. I am amazed how much my parents are from Germany. They lived under Hitler. And my grandparents, when they finally made it out of the country, kept repeating to me the steps that Hitler took to gain control. I see that being repeated here. I don't want my children and my grandchildren to have to suffer to the degree that my family did. And days will get dark, but it's often during those blackest days, we must keep our faith. We must move forward. And as we do that, I am convinced that the God of heaven will touch the hearts of many good men and women who will gravitate to us, who will join us in our ranks. And I don't know what'll happen. I do know the Constitution will be preserved, but it must be done by men and women, common men and women such as us, working together. And as we do our part, miracles will happen. The Constitution will be preserved. Others will see the value of the Constitution, and they will bond with us. And in the end, we with others will kneel before the knee of Christ and recognize that he is our Christ. I'm humbled for your confidence, and I ask for your support. And go to your home states now, your state chairman. Contact the people in your areas and ask for their help and their support. We need that very definitely within the next 6 months. We need commitments, steady commitments month after month. Again, I thank you for your confidence. I'm humbled by your confidence, and I will do all of my power to do those things that will promote the party. And thank you again.